Neovim with CLI based coding agents and how Neovim interacts with these agents so that we peek under the hood of how editors normally talk to CLI agents. Although what I'm going to talk about is Neovim related stuff, but the learnings that are there are applicable across any editor. Okay, so we'll begin. This section we will skip. Saurabh Hirani, Principal SRE at 1 to N. You guys are spared of the PJs that are there in my intro normally at meetups because you get enough PJs for me during the day, right? Also, interestingly, this presentation is being done in Neovim. Very cool, right? So let's see how this goes, right? So what's in it for you? Why should you attend this talk, right? So we'll peek under the hood of how agents and editors communicate. Again, as called out, the example is Neovim, but the learnings are generic. This talk is not about Neovim is better than your editor, or an effort to evangelize you to use Neovim. No, this is about my experience with Neovim, how I find it useful, and if you are going to explore Neovim, these are the simple plugins that you can use and make your journey a little better, right? All right. For your editors, if you're happy with what you're using, you do you. All right. So why should you care if you are happy with your editor? Why should you even be in this talk? Like if you are good with VS Code, if you are good with Zen, why should you be even in this talk, right? So the aim is to show you that there are some good ideas that Neovim uses when it communicates with CLI based agents, and if you like those ideas, steal them. If you like those ideas, adopt which makes you faster and discard the rest. And it is necessary that you come to know about it because there are things that seem very niche today that only a small subset of people will use, but it becomes tomorrow's mainstream default. For example, did you imagine that agentic UX would be better on CLI than editor chat windows, right? When we started, we are all using editor chat windows. We thought this is the right way to do it. But then now everyone uses Claude Code on the CLI, right? So this is something that will help you see and evaluate for yourself if this is something I should invest in. Some minor terminology difference. We are talking about Neovim. We are not talking about VI. We are not talking about Vim, right? So the editor evolved from 3 stages. It went from VI to Vim to Neovim. Different stages, different people, different tastes, different fixes that were done to ensure that this goes in. Right. By the way, we do have some Fathom recorders in the call, right? Just yeah, we want this recorder. Cool. All right. So VI started in 1976. It was superseded by Vim, and then it was superseded by Neovim. Right. The only difference, major difference from a UX perspective, is that Vim used its own scripting language. Neovim uses Lua. Lua is more mainstream in terms of adoption, also useful for people to try out, right? So now that the theory is completed, let's see why am I doing all of this? How did I start? So in the pre-AI era, before 2025, 2024, I was a happy Neovim user, right? I had the usual things, basic syntax checking, everything was there. And then AI era began, and I started having this FOMO that my Neovim does not have a chat window, right? Basically, I saw this and I was like, I want this right side window that we have in Neovim, in VS Code, right? And because it was a UI element, and adding this in Neovim was a little bit of a pain, and the experience was still a bit suboptimal. So I was like, okay, I will move to VS Code. The good part is that VS Code also had good Neovim bindings. So I was not married to Neovim, and I was like, okay, let's try this out. VS Code worked really well for me. I was happy. And then today I'm back to using Neovim, right? So what happened? I was doing Neovim, I went to VS Code, and what happened that made me switch back? What was a moment of truth? So today I caught myself doing right. I was working in my VS Code window, and I saw myself switching from Claude to VS Code back and forth. So I had moved from Neovim to VS Code because I wanted to chat with my agents and my agents themselves had come on the command line, right? So rather than me going to a visual editor, the agents had come back on the interface on which Neovim works. So I was like, okay, if agents are back on the command line, why not I give agents a shot through the command line itself? I was like, okay, let us explore Neovim, right? So when I started jumping from the editor to the command line, I was like, might as well try it out on the command line, right? So that is when I started doing this, right? So what are the agents that I played with? I looked at Claude Code, OpenCode integration, and that's it. If you use anything else, then Neovim's plugins aren't that great. But that is wrong. I have a way that you can use any CLI based agents with Neovim. It does not matter. Tomorrow when a new agent comes in, you are future proof, right? Let us see why am I making that claim, right? So first, let's look at Claude Code, right? So Neovim, like VS Code or any other editor, has a rich ecosystem of plugins. Some good community members have created a lot of useful plugins. Claude Code, when it came up, someone wrote a Claude Code plugin, right? So basically, what it does is that you install this plugin, then you can talk to Claude Code in a Neovim native way. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by Neovim native way, right? So when you install this plugin, you are able to talk to Claude Code in this way. Let's see what I mean by that. So you start Neovim, right? And then you run a command which starts a server. When I say a server, I'll explain what that is. What does that server mean? Right now, assume that it just starts a process. That process writes to some log file that Claude and Neovim have a contract on. Claude reads that log file, finds out the Neovim process and connects to it, right? And then both of them start talking on a WebSocket. Right? Let's see this in action, right? How does this work? So I have a sample, dummy code present here. This is just a test code, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to on my right side here. By the way, you'll also notice that Neovim's ability to talk to agents is heavily dependent on how good you are with switching windows in and out of your terminal, which means that using tmux is very useful here. So if you see, I have Neovim present here and I have a window present here. Now here, let me just create one more tab. Let's go to Claude Code. Claude, right? Here, let's go to IDE, Claude, and this is something that will be there in your setup also. This is not specific to Neovim. Claude also communicates with VS Code in the exact same way. If you see, there are no files present here, right? This is empty. Now, if I come back here and I'm going to run this command, if I show you the key, then I'm going to run this command leader AC, which is going to start the WebSocket server, right? You will not be able to see the key being typed, but I will show you, once I do this, let's see what happened. I pressed that key. Now let's come back here and let's do ls once again. You see a log file got created, right? Now let us open that log file. This has a PID 59236. Let's see what that PID is. Right, so if you see, it is opening up Nvim. Neovim is there, right? Now, Neovim and Claude Code, now Neovim and Claude Code are able to communicate with each other. When I say that, what I mean is that Neovim did step 1 and step 2. And now when I start Claude Code is going to do step 3 and step 4. Let us start Claude Code. So when I'm starting Claude, I'm starting it through this command, Claude ID. Claude ID is a small wrapper over the usual Claude command. It is just saying that read this log file and open this setup. Claude just needs some command line arguments to do this. As soon as I do this, you see it will say connecting to Claude Code ID on port 49601, which means that Claude read the log file, which is here 49601. Then it said, okay, this 49601 is the port on which this other process is running. I don't care what that process is. That is the beauty of Claude Code. It does not care it's talking to Neovim on VS Code. It is talking a protocol. As long as the other end is able to talk the same protocol, it's going to do its work. Now, it is connected. Let us see how it is connected. Now, if I come here and if I let me open this readme.mp, right? Now, if I switch these files, look at this part, this in main.py, right? This part of the screen only. I hope the text is visible. Should I increase the font?
It's visible.
Visible, right? So if I switch between these two files, right? See what's happening. Claude is detecting that there is a file change happening. This is very good, right? Now that communication has started. Now if I come here and let me send some context to Claude Code. When I say that, what I mean is, if I type a set of keys, I typed the wrong key. Just a second. AS. Okay, sorry, I typed AS. If I come here, if I type AS, if you see, it sent that context to Claude Code. Let's try that again, right? Let us select a area and we are going to say agent send. If you see, this says if I press S, it will send to Claude. I pressed S, it sent to Claude, and I'm like, explain this. So Claude will work and it will do its stuff and then it will explain. So this way I'm able to send context to Claude. Now let us try making a change here, right? So yeah, I mean, Claude is giving the explanation. Now I'll tell it add comments, right? So Claude will go ahead, open that file and usual ask for permission, and now it's going to add comments. Now this is where the experience gets very interesting, right? If you see, Claude added comments and Neovim detected it, and now it's giving me a diff to decide whether this is useful or not, whether I should accept the comment or not. If I accept the comment got accepted, everything is good, right? So you are able to send context to Claude, you are able to make changes via Claude, and all you're doing is jumping between these two terminal windows, right? So Claude Code's integration with Neovim is very straightforward, and the diff part and everything works really well, right? So this is sorted. This is good. Claude, the person who wrote the Claude Code plugin did a very good job, right? Although I said I'll take questions in the end, but because we have the flexibility of time, just wanted to check in if anyone has queries on how this works. Any queries on this? All right, no queries. Okay, so we move.
Saurabh,
Yeah.
Saurabh, just one quick question. How did you accept the diff? Was
Right.
it like a command to nvim or like you
Yes.
accepted in Claude?
Right. Let us try that again. Right. So let us say if I do this and if I do the same thing, add comments. So there are key presses that you can do. This will say accept diff. This will say deny diff. AA is accept, agent deny. Right. Now if I come here, let's now deny a diff. Right. These three lines are supposed to get comments. The top three lines. Right. So if I press the leader key and AA, then it will accept the diff. Now here I'm going to deny the diff, right? Nothing happened, right? User rejected update. That's it. Right? Those key bindings you can change to whatever liking you have. All right. So Claude Code, we are good. Now let's go to the OpenCode users, right? So we will fold this section, we'll unfold this section, right? OpenCode also, someone did a very good job. They created a plugin. Now, one of the things that will start nagging you at this point is that, okay, these plugins are not, obviously a lot of stars, community, everything. But again, this is a human being. This is also a human being. And there is no organization behind this. That is one of the reasons why people are a little wary of Neovim. But mostly the community is very strong. It's like Python modules are also, Node modules are also very community driven. But someone did a good job with OpenCode, and take a moment to appreciate how OpenCode and Claude Code, although the interaction is very similar. I'll show you the interaction first in case of OpenCode, and then we'll see how the communication works, right? So we're going to quit this. We'll just go back to the CLI. Now let us say that now I'm using OpenCode, right? Let's try that, right? So here, what I do is that in case of Claude Code, I used to start a server and then Claude Code used to connect with it. But in case of OpenCode, I actually start an OpenCode process. Let us see. So I pressed the key and it started OpenCode, which is fine. but now I'm working here. This is the window I'm working. So if you use tmux in the right way, what you can tell Vim is that bring the OpenCode window that was there near to me. So if I click this, OpenCode comes here. And now our experience will be the same as Claude Code. For example, let us try sending some context here. Right. So if you look at the keys, send events to OpenCode OS. Now OpenCode gives you a lot of, a little bit of more, prompt magic on top of this. It says that, let us say that this, and now I'm going to say explain. So if you see, it came here and it is going to explain this and all of that, right? So it's going to do its thing. Now, if we do the same thing with OpenCode in terms of the diff part, changing a file and all of that, you will see the same scenario, right? So we are not going to do that, but the experience is the same, right? So one might feel that Claude Code and OpenCode conversation with Neovim is being done in the same way. That is not true, right? Let us see how Neovim talks to Claude Code. So, sorry, OpenCode, not Claude Code. Now, this was Claude Code. We are going to first look at OpenCode and then we are going to contrast. First, Neovim starts an OpenCode server, right? Then Neovim says that I'm going to, it does a process scan. It does ps-df, it grabs the command with running with OpenCode, which means that within a tmux session, you cannot have multiple OpenCodes running. Otherwise, Vim gets confused. But Neovim also has the ability to ask you that there are multiple OpenCodes detected. Which one should I use? But essentially, you find out what OpenCode to connect to, and once you find out the OpenCode thing to connect to, what you can do is that you can essentially Neovim can essentially start talking to OpenCode via REST API, right? What that means is now Neovim is going to send events to OpenCode via REST API, but it is going to open a server-side event, stream, wherein it is only going to receive events from OpenCode. So the sending part is being done through REST, but the receiving part is being done through SSE. Right now, compare this with how Claude Code communication is there. Right? So both, it was a two-way communication on WebSocket, and there was one channel doing a two-way communication. Here there are two channels doing one-way communication. Right? Let me give you a small primer on these two parts. Right? Let's look at this flow. Let's look at this flow. Let us open this also and look at the flow of this also, right? So let's first look at OpenCode. OpenCode starts a server as soon as you tell Vim to start OpenCode. Neovim discovers OpenCode, it sends commands to OpenCode, and then it streams back events through SSE. But in this case, it was WebSocket, right? So the difference between the two, if I look at the references section, is that WebSocket and SSE, if you want to think about WebSocket, it is a phone call. Both of the parties are talking to each other. SSE is like a radio broadcast, right? So WebSocket was a persistent two-way connection between client and a server. And in this case, it was a one-way stream between server and a client, right? So I found this very good, that the experience, the end user experience is the same, but both used very different technologies to get the same job done, right? I'll take a pause here. Any questions? All right, no questions. Let us, we spoke about the design choices, right? We'll just do a recap. Claude Code did one two-way channel. OpenCode did two one-way channels, right? Now, this was about OpenCode and Claude Code. What about other editors, right? If you wanted to use Pi, if you wanted to use Kiro, these are all new age agents. If you wanted to use Codex and everything, how do you do this, right? So the community noticed this, and they decided that we should come up with a protocol which standardizes communication between code editors and IDEs, right? What that means is that every IDE will talk a standard language to a coding agent, which is the agent client protocol. There are multiple, there were multiple drafts of the agent client protocol. This was the first draft. Unfortunately, it was rejected. For those of you who know who this is, this will be a good joke. For those who don't, get a life. All right. So next part, the actual, the accepted ACP draft was this one. Now think of how simple this is, right? Neovim starts. It spawns the agent in ACP mode, which means the agent should support ACP, and then they talk JSON RPC over STD and STD out. Let's see this in action, right? And it becomes very native to Neovim. What does it mean when I say native to Neovim? Let's see how this goes. So again, we will cut this, we'll start main.py, and I'm going to start communicating over ACP now. Now, if I do this, I ran a key which started an ACP server with my default agent. My default agent is Kiro, right? Now, if you see, there is no Kiro window or anything. I'm just within Vim. Now, let me ask it a question. Who are you? So, Neovim is sending, text to Kiro over ACP protocol while staying within its window. It's like the UI is Neovim, but the communication is being done over ACP, right? Now I'm able to talk to this. Now the very cool part about this is that I can do everything while staying in Neovim. Let me change the model, right? So let me take Claude over this, right? So I change the model here. I'm not going to do anything with that model, but I change something here, right? The more interesting thing is that instead of changing the model, I can even change the agents midway through the conversation. What I mean by that is, till now I was talking with Kiro. Now let me start talking with OpenCode. Again, I'll ask the question, who are you? So the first answer was, I am Kiro, an AI assistant, right? Now let's see the answer to the second question. In the same session, we have not, cut the process or anything. You see, I am OpenCode and interactive CLI, which means that you are able to switch agents, while the conversation is going on. This is very powerful. But unfortunately, the problem is that we are too used to the agent interface. Like we are too used to our favorite agents on the CLI, to the slash commands and everything. Now within ACP, if I press slash, right, I will see only these commands. Now ignore the top. I mean, it is showing the directory setup, but I am seeing init, review, compact, new. However, if I open OpenCode separately, right, I will see multiple commands, model, new, review, all of that. So although OpenCode supports ACP, slash commands are limited, right? So this is sort of a deal breaker for many of us, right? Which means that what has happened is that the community CLI agents that are there, the CLI agents that are there have contributed ACP support so that editors can talk to them, but the ACP support is not so full that when I do slash, it detects the agent and it gives me its slash commands, right? So useful stuff, but still in its nascent stages, right? Are there any queries on this?
Saurabh, maybe a new question, but is it possible to add our own slash commands in ACP? Like, I mean, these CLIs allow you to add your own commands, right?
Yes, haven't explored, should be possible, but I was like, I don't want to stay within Neovim for, things that I'm used to in the agent. So I did not explore ACP that much, but worth trying out. And it is backed by Z. So Z created ACP. So it is something that is evolving. Worth evaluating, I don't know. Right?
Thanks.
So, all right. So ACP to agents is what language server protocol is for editors, right? So this was fine. Everything was good. And we saw the limitations of ACP, as we saw. Not all agents implement the full spec. Kiro implements ACP, but many slash commands are missing. Same with OpenCode implements ACP, slash commands are missing. The write once works with any agent, it is not there yet, right? But for me as an end user, I got spoiled by what OpenCode and Claude Code gave me. and I was like, I want best of both the worlds, right? I want the editor to any agent communication like agentic.nvim, which is the ACP protocol. I want the flexibility of ACP protocol and the rigidity of the experience that Claude Code and OpenCode give me, right? I should be able to send stuff. I should be able to look at diffs. I should be able to do all of that, right? This is where I thought that, okay, I have AI on my side. Why not do something that creates a plugin that helps me achieve this, right? Now, this is where I wrote a plugin called Prompt Picker. So if you see, there is a here. So this is a very simple plugin and it does something very interesting. Let's try that out. We will again quit this, we'll start main.py, we'll open a side window. And now let us start an agent whose support is not present in Neovim. Let us start Py. For Py, I have to do the NVM thing, lazy loading. But I do Py here. I don't have any Py agents, Py plugins installed in Neovim. Okay. Now I'll come here and let me try doing the same thing. Let me try sending the same thing here. Explain this, right? So if you see, I'm able to talk to Py. Let me cut this. It is doing its work, but let me cut this. Now let me open Kiro. Kiro is another, it's AWS's coding agent. Let me try doing the same thing here. Explain. See, it works. I'm able to send data here. Now what is actually happening? Instead of solving the problem of agent to CLI communication, I eliminated the problem, and what I said was that instead of knowing what is there on the right side, I will just send what I want to send on the right side. What I mean by that is that if I do this and if I do the same thing, it will even send this on the CLI. So essentially what is happening is that Neovim is saying that, is there any tmux window on my right? If there is one, send the data there. That's it. Now on the right side, it just so happens that I'm running a coding agent, right? So this way, the conversation from Neovim to the coding agent becomes very dumb. Like anything can be here on the right side, right? You could have your own server running. So what is actually happening here is that if you see, tmux is all you need, right? So this is a conversation. Neovim starts, it picks the prompt that we did, like when I say picks the prompt, I mean this. Sorry, not this. If I come here, this is one of the prompts. And now the good part is that all of this is customizable. I'll show you how, right? And then if you look at this, it renders with context. When I say renders with context, all of this thing, range, file, these are placeholders. They are interpreted by Neovim and they send that, it opens that up to on the right side. So if you see, explain this L5 to L11. I just wrote, what do you say, range there, right? Then it renders the prompt and it sends via tmux. That's it. On the right side, it is a coincidence that your agent is running, right? If nothing is running, even then it will catch it, right? So now the left to right communication is sorted in the sense that Neovim can talk to any agent now if you use this plugin, right? I'll take a pause here. I just want to ask if there are any questions because this is the foundation on which the next part will run. Right? No queries, right? So now we are able to talk from Neovim to the agent in any way, right? So what does it unlock? You can do something very interesting here, right? Let me have Claude Code here, Claude here, and then in the similar window, let me have OpenCode here, right? And let me make this even. So these are all even windows. Now let me just a second. Let me open up the prompt picker config. So GitHub, Saurabh Hirani, prompt picker, NVim, prompt config, JSON. Now if you see, this is the config. Here what I've said is that tmux auto select pane is plus. Now if I do +2 and +3, what I'm essentially saying is that send to more windows than required. Now, if I were to come here now and I have reloaded the config. Now, if I were to take all of this and if I were to do the same thing, which is explain this range. Now, if you see, both Claude Code and OpenCode got the same data, because I'm saying send this data here. Now, this you could, essentially evaluate agents on the same queries if you do something like this. Now, if I ask something and Claude Code answered first, then OpenCode, right? Because essentially all I said was that to the prompt picker, select these two panes and send data, right? Now, it just sent data on the right side of both things, right? If you want to do, now the practical implications of this may or may not be there, but this is something cool, right? This is how you can push your setup, right? If you want to do parallel agents for the same query, you could do something like this, right? So this is one. Let me close this. And now the question comes that when I was showing you Claude Code, I showed you that when Claude Code makes a change, you are able to see the diff here, right? That part cannot be solved in the sense that I cannot, sorry, I'll just clean this up. Let me clean this up also so that that part cannot be solved because that requires the agent and the editor to communicate with each other. So that is where I made a compromise. What I thought was that whenever I'm working with agents, now I've gotten into the mode of letting agents have a little more free hand than required, right? This has happened to most of us, that we tell the agent to do stuff and instead of checking every file, we are like, do the task and I'll review everything that goes in, right? So that is where I was also there. But then I wanted to know a little more, like, how do I know what has changed, right? So for this, I wrote a plugin. Again, this is something that was used to solve the same problem, that I grew tired of checking diffs of files one by one. Let us say that I create a task wherein I'm changing 10 files. I will view those 10 files one by one, but in the end, I'll also have to do an entire git diff to view them, because essentially it is required, right? Because you're not going to check in the whole thing blindly. So what I thought was that I need a semantic understanding of the code that has changed beyond the diff, right? What I mean by that is, if I come here and if I do a diff, now this is just Neovim's diff window, which is very similar to what you would see in OpenCode and all of that, right? Or VS Code and all of that, right? Now this is showing me all the diff that has gone in, right? Now, if I were to come here, just a sec, let me first remove the comments because they were added during our testing part. Let us remove the comments. Let me remove these comments. Right. Now let us look at the diff. Right. So if you see, one comment was added here, and then two functions got added: update user, delete user. Right. And this thing, right? So what I did was that I ran this diff and then I created a skill or whatever is there in your favorite editor, and I told that editor that run a diff on this and dump the output in a JSON file explaining the diff. What I mean by that is, if I go to tmp code explainer nwib for data test repo in diff directory, I have a JSON file, main.py.json, which is showing me that these are the changes, and all. Now, if you see, this is a very structured diff output of diff explanation, right? Because it's a structured diff explanation, your editor, this could be done in VS Code, this could be done in Z. Your editor can read this and do something like this. If I come here, if I look at the diff view, and if I say, explain the diff, right? If you see here, now the diff that is there is actually telling me this diff completes the REST API by putting the put and delete endpoints here. And now I can actually see the diff here. I mean, I had added the comment and I changed it, so the part got changed. But if you see, new put and new delete got added, new delete endpoint got added. So not only can you see the diff, you can also see what the agent actually meant in terms of the code change that was carried out, right? So if I come here, right, a new delete endpoint was added and all of that, right? So your diffs become now more readable by making the agent do a little more hard work of giving you an overview of the changes per file changes. Now overview tells you the overall changes, and each file that is changed shows up here, right? Now if you are using Neovim, you could do something like this also. If I do this, this is telling me which are the files you want to see. I want to see main.py, and I also want to see overview. Now, as soon as I do this, I start seeing them here. Within your Neovim itself, within your editor itself, you see all the changes that are going in, right? This is also very good to understand code. Like you could go to a previous diff, tell your agent to create a file like this. This is just a prompt, a skill, or whatever, a skill away. As soon as you do this, you get this output, and you are able to understand your code changes in a much better way, right? So, any questions on this? Cool. So that is mostly it. Now the conclusion is that you stop learning when you stop peeking under the hood, right? I was using Neovim, I played with Claude Code, played with OpenCode, wanted the same facility in Pi and everything. Now I don't need any coding agent specific plugin. I'm able to do all of this through simple agents which use tmux, simple agents which simple plugins which use tmux, simple plugins which tell your agent to just dump the output in a structured manner and tell your editor read that output and show me in the best way you can, right? Now one might say that, I work in YOLO mode, I don't even look at the diffs and everything. But don't look at the diffs when you are making changes. But before you are checking in, before you are deploying, look at those diffs, right? So it moves from, your perspective moves from YOLO to YOLO solar. YOLO means you live only once. YOLO solar means you only live once, so live responsibly, right? And that is it. If you have any questions, let me know. Right, going back to the meeting. Any queries by anyone?
Saurabh sir?
Yes.
Yeah, the question is not be like very technical, but like why use Neovim editor with these Claude plugins when we have like why we are doing this kind of a bird view eye question?
So you are saying, your question is why use Neovim with this, or why do you
with why use Neovim editor with like a Cloud Code agent or like another agent? We have like VS Code also provides a like way better kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. If your experience with VS Code is is giving you the, I have been going between the VS Code and Neovim back and forth, but the ability to customize Neovim is unparalleled. I can do a lot of things like, see, I thought that why not do this presentation in Neovim? I was able to wrangle up the right key bindings to do this. I just enjoy doing it. It is as simple. If you feel VS Code gives you that power, use VS Code. Simple. Right?
Yeah.
But there is a reason why people use Neovim. There is a reason why people use Emacs, right? It gives you the ability to customize it to your own needs. And now that you have the ability to talk to Claude Code, OpenCode, any coding agent, right? One of the reasons why people shied away from using editors like Neovim was that iska support acha nahi hai. I'm showing you that the support is there. So give it a shot. See if it works. Also, VS Code and Z are memory hogs. Like you will see them eating 3-4 GBs aram se, right? Unless you have a good 48 GB machine, then go crazy, right?
Yeah.
But Neovim is a little more lightweight. Plus, it is tied to the terminal. It is. I don't have to leave my terminal to do my work. These are my reasons. I have used VS Code also. VS Code also works for me. If it's working for you, stick with it. Plus, when you are using Neovim with these agents, you are forced to improve your muscle of tmux, which is very useful when you are on the CLI, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But again, VS Code working well for you, use VS Code. This is not an evangelization call, but it is mostly experiment karna hai, so all of this is there.
Yeah, we'll do experiment. Yes,
Sahil?
Yeah, so my question is this thing, when we are on VS Code, there is something called context compaction window, where the context is fully compacted and kept by that particular agent. if the token usage is high. So this kind of thing differentiate from model to model. If it is a Sonnet, it will be very less. If it's a Opus, it will the lesser it is, it becomes very big for the Opus because Opus on heavy compute. How is Neovim handling that? Does it have that compaction window or something around like?
So Neovim has nothing of that sort, because even in your VS Code, when the compaction happens, it happens at the agent level, not at the editor level. So even in this case, if I'm using Claude Code or Hero, whatever is there on the CLI, like whenever, here, if I am here, let me share my screen again, right? Let us come here and let's say that I had Claude running here. Let me close this guy. Here, whatever I am doing for compaction would be there, right? So it has nothing to do with you. It's just that in your case, because you're using the Hero IDE, the experience is so integrated that you feel that it is being done at the agent level. But yeah, I mean, it is a very
I mean, the major difference which I saw when I switched from VS Code to Kiro was just that Kiro doesn't say anything and does it from behind the scenes altogether.
Yeah.
While VS Code will go and say that, hey, I'm about to forget the context, it's going to make some noise and then do it. But with Kiro CLI, so that's why I might have confused it.
See, my angle, my approach to this is that I don't want too much magic in my editors. I want control. I want to know what's happening. I want to know how you are communicating with the tool. Now, this abstraction may not be required when we are doing many tasks, but I feel it is good. Like as an engineer, we know what's happening in the backend. That is the only reason. But yes, Kiro's experience of, because it has a very good integration, it might be a little more seamless.
And the second thing which I see Kiro killing it is around the MCP server integration, where it always checks whether the MCP is integrated or not. And if it is not, it will tell you. But is those things gonna come up in Neovim as well? Because
doesn't, right? See, that's the beauty of this. My agent and my editor are completely separate.
Okay, got it.
So agent, whatever it's like, tomorrow if I want to use Pi is good. Pi doesn't have MCP support right now. Tomorrow when Pi brings in, it will bring it. They are very decoupled, right? So that difference is there. Right. Yeah, Satya, you had a question.
So the tooltip kind of thing that you showed for explaining what this diff is, I loved that. I'm not sure anything like that is configurable in any other IDEs or CLIs, right?
So
is it because Nvim offers that as like functionality out of the box that you can just tap into it?
yeah, so this part, this floating window thingy, this is essentially, yes, it is a part of Neovim in terms of a UI element that is present. But I think VS Code and others would have it. But if they don't, then I can mock them and point a finger and say Neovim is better than you. But mostly it should have it. If Neovim has it, others should have it. But yeah, I really like this. It is a very clean functionality. Plus, you can also have a lot of picker tools. So there is this really cool plugin in Neovim. Like I'll show you this. They call it snacks.nwim. If you do this, right? So it is a collection of these, a lot of plugins which have, they call this picker and all of that, right? I mean, I'm unable to show. Yeah, file explorer, picker, and all of this. So what happens is that whatever you see here, what you are seeing here is something that I had configured that show these two files. And when I do that, and then this element, the element that you see here at below this part, this is called a quick list window. Other people also call it gutter because it is below the Neovim thing, right? So all of these elements, they are UI elements, but they are, they can respond to events, right? So this helps you understand your editor better also, right? If I were to open up VS Code and if you were to tell me what do you call this left panel, it's called, auxiliary pane or whatever, I wouldn't remember. But the very fact that you're playing more with your editor, it just tells you that these Lego components are present for you to try out.
Saurabh, a question and a comment also.
Yes.
everything in Neovim needs a config. Like you have to pull in a plugin from outside.
Yes.
Why not go? Why not choose an editor that does some of these things by default rather than having installing plugin and in future some of those plugin being not maintained, going out of date, something like that.
Right. Yes. So that is one of the reason why people pull their hair when working with Neovim plugins and everything. But now you can offload the hair pulling to an LLM.
Yeah.
Right? You can let someone else do that hard work. And to be honest, even VS Code is not giving you everything by default. You are installing plugins, and even those plugins are not maintained by Microsoft. They are maintained by some
From
community.
third party. Yeah.
It's just that the UI is clean and feels like that. That obviously, the official support in VS Code would definitely be the surface area would be more. But there are still, like, I used to use this plugin in VS Code called Project Manager, which allowed me to switch workspaces. That was a community plugin. But now the ability for you to this boilerplate work, to be very honest, right? I have not opened my Neovim config after I started offloading the work to Claude. If you were to tell me what does this part of code do, I would have to think about it and explain it to you. But at the same time, that is true for VS Code plugins also, right? If AI was not there, I would have stuck with VS Code. It's as simple as that. Right? All right, cool. Okay, I think most questions are done. We can end the session. By the way, we start.